I'm tired of living in the ghetto. I'm tired of having cockroaches and rats running around. I'm
Right.
tired of the BS that's around me. So I always strive to get out the hood. That was like my motivation.
Mm. Mm-hmm. And so, what age were you able to finally do that?
Officially,
Yeah.
last year.
Oh, wow. Welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm your host, Jessica Carice, and this space is a place where we talk about seemingly random topics, but in all actuality, they're connected together. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Maurice Grant. We met off of Threads. He is a business consultant and founder of CEO of BYOB, Becoming Your Own Boss, which is focused on small business owners basically getting out of their own way so that you can achieve your financial freedom and be able to sell your business if that's the direction you like to go. Maurice is based in Atlanta, and I'm so excited. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to dig into your life journey and how you got to where you are today.
No, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on your platform. I had did a little bit of research on you too. I was just like, whoa, she out here killing it. Podcast game heavy. So yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So BYOB, everybody refers that to bring your own beer. so so tell us more about, your business and why you became a business consultant, and tell us more about what your day-to-day looks like, and yeah, let's just paint the picture of your life.
Yeah, what do? So I'll start with the name, because everybody literally asked me that. Like yesterday, I went to a networking event, and that wasn't literally the question nonstop. What does BYOB mean? Because I know that's something else. I'm like, I know that's the same thing you're thinking about. Bring your own beer or bring your own bottles, whatever one. So as a kid, like that's what our group was called. We was the BYOB boys. So we do parties all over Philadelphia. Um, Basically, it's like yo, just bring your own bottles. We got the music, we got the spot. That was the parties. Um, and then as I grew up, I'm like, I like the name. It just stuck with me for years. I was always Reese BYOB, but kind of had to grow up. So we turned it to be your own boss, like in the college days. Still stuck with me until today. Now it's like, okay, well, I really, really like the name, and it's been my name for 13, 14 years now. So we rock out with BYB. And I just turned it to the series now. So BYB is Becoming Your Own Boss, and it is a series of events and seasons that you got to go through to get to that level that we're seeking. Um, so for me, like my background is real estate. I was a real estate investor or I am a real estate investor. Got into that industry probably like 2018. Was also a licensed real estate agent for like 9 years. From there, I recently dove or got introduced into the world of M&A, which is mergers and acquisitions, to learn how to buy businesses. As I'm doing that, I seen buying a business is very, very, very similar to buying real estate. Like almost like peanut butter and jelly on a sandwich. Almost the same. Like you can't do one. Um so in that endeavor of me trying to buy a lot of businesses or talking to business owners, I seen that a lot of them don't have their books in order or their system and process is like really set up in their company. They'll be making money as a lifestyle business, sure, but for the in the eyes of the bank, they're like really not making money on paper because everybody's trying to write everything off, or they're just running something that doesn't have no solid foundation. Then I also do come from the credit rail, so I was doing personal credit, business credit, so that kind of like helped me understand this a lot more to see what banks look for when it comes to getting a business funding. So that was kind of just like why I started this is after talking to probably like 100 business owners, only three of them will have a sellable business.
Wow.
Um, so I'm like, okay, let me figure out how I can start helping business owners, more so service providers. Because I was in the real estate already, I'm already dealing with a lot of home service individuals. Let me go to them first. And apparently, I've been doing this for years. I just never knew what it was because I'm always reading books. Like, I don't know if you see the books all behind me, always reading books. So, all of my friends who are business owners, they'll come to me for advice. I'm like, You should do this. You should do this. Have you ever thought about this idea? Like just giving them free game. Um, and when I got into M&A, one of my coaches is like, "Oh yeah, that's called consulting for equity." I do that all the time. That's all I do. I basically teach business owners how to scale and grow their company, but in exchange for the services, I want some equity in the company.
Mm.
I'm like, bro, what? Hold up. Say that again. He's like, yeah, I get paid millions of dollars for my knowledge to help the business grow and scale. I don't have to do none of the work. All I'm doing is consulting them on the things that they need to get to the next level. I'm like, I want to do that. That sounds like me. And it's really just learning the principles of what makes a good business. The I guess if you like think of an airplane. An airplane needs two wings to fly. It needs an engine, it needs its cockpit, it needs its body. Every business operates just like that. You just got to know how they communicate with each other, and that's kind of what got me started.
That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. And so, in your journey of first real estate investing, then getting into mergers and acquisition, learning how to, how to buy and sell businesses and what the banks look for. What was like your mindset during that time? Like when you first got into real estate investing, what was your mindset? Did you think like was your goal to be, super massive real estate investor, or like were you using that as a vehicle for something else?
Um, it's funny that you asked that. So I really got into real estate because all the books I read, wealthy people is like real estate is a way. Like that was always the move. It's like every wealthy person has some type of real estate. I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's the way I got to go. And I've always been an entrepreneur since a kid. Like in high school, instead of books, I had chips and snacks in my bag. So I was selling waters and quarter bags of chips. Um, but that kind of just grew onto me now. So for for I bet I completely went brain dead and forgot the question. A fly flew past me and just threw me all off.
It's okay. I was asking if when you first got into real estate investing, was that like your plan to
Yeah, so I got into it because all the wealthy people I followed was doing real estate. And so I thought the first path to real estate was becoming an agent. So that's the very first thing I did was get my license, study the book, become an agent. But I never really wanted to help other people buy and sell a home. I wanted to be the real estate investor. I wanted to buy homes. Um, so I started my journey through that, then became an investor, invested probably like 30, $40,000 into different mentorships to teach me about real estate. Um, and started to learn how to buy houses creatively. So in that manner, shout out to my mentor, Pace Morby. Um, he taught me how to buy a house with no money and no credit, which was phenomenal to me. I'm like, no agent I ever came across in my 2 years prior to that ever mentioned that to me. But all they do for a living is sell houses. So I'm like, bro, how can you buy a house with no money and no credit? So he taught me that led me to the journey. But as I continued down this path and getting in the rooms with wealthier and wealthier people, I seen that the true wealth transfer is through mergers and acquisitions, not through real estate. They use real estate as their vehicle of saving money or transfer of money or transfer of wealth, but they acquire wealth through mergers and acquisitions.
Mhm. 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 And it's really interesting that you say that because with the different strategies to grow business, it varies at the different levels, right? So after a certain, income level that a business has, one of the more strategic ways to grow is through mergers and acquisitions. I did like post merger and acquisition work um, on larger corporate scales to actually do the integration between the two companies. But
Mhm.
I definitely know that's like a huge growth strategy that so many companies employ, like Apple employs it, for example. All the major players employ it, for example. That's why they have functionalities for every different aspect of your life, that, especially for some of the large tech companies.
Yes. So even like on a small scale, like I started to just notice how business owners or business companies in general are using mergers and acquisitions to scale. Like Amazon became one of the biggest companies in the world, but a lot of people forget that they started out as just a bookstore and they was competing against Barnes and Noble. Barnes
Mhm.
and Noble did not want to do partnership with them, so they basically put Barnes and Noble, I want to say, out of business in a way because they shut a lot of their doors down.
Mhm.
And then they started to compete with eBay. It's like, well, let's start selling more things than just books. Let's start selling all these other things. They was just acquiring companies that already was doing the thing that they wanted to do instead of them having to learn a system. So they
Mhm.
seen a proven system that was out there running smoothly. Hey, let me just buy what you got going on here. We collaborate together, continue to build and grow. We
Yep.
operate under one umbrella versus having a million and one different umbrellas. It's just one.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yep. 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 Oh, that's really nice. And so you had mentioned that you were always an entrepreneur. Like in high school, you mentioned that you had snacks in your book bag and instead of books. So what influenced or what prompted the entrepreneurial? Like, did you have any other influences in your life that you saw people were buying, selling stuff, or guess what triggered that?
Um, I guess you could say how I was raised. Um, my mom will probably hate me for this, but she'll be all right. My mom was a dancer, so like she hustled for her money, and then even outside of that, so she had her day job where she worked at the airport. So during the day she did that, during the night she danced, and then on the side she made clothes and just was always selling
Oh
stuff. Like
wow.
she naturally hustled, and I was always there with her. Like I would anywhere she would go, I would have to go because we had no babysitters. Like we had nobody, so it was just I had to go where she went. And as a young age, I guess, it started to just see how she was grinding, even on my dad's side. So my dad's Jamaican.
Oh, okay.
We have the sayings like, "Yo, Jamaicans got 7 jobs," because naturally we do. Like we just out there hustling and grinding all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Even my dad's side, like we was washing cars, fixing cars, we delivering packages. So I seen him at a young age. One is in my mom's in Philly, my dad's in New York. So half my life is
Mm-hmm.
always back and forth. I'm in
Mm-hmm.
2 fast cities in general. So as I grew up, I just naturally adapted that entrepreneurship lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have nobody that's around me that was super book smart. So coming
Um,
from the streets to it's like I seen drug dealers making money, but I was like, I don't want that path. I'm gonna figure out something else to make money. So it was just the way I grew up, I guess.
that's really interesting. That's really interesting because like I grew up in Baltimore, and Baltimore and Philly, I know we're not exactly the same, but there's similarities between the two
Yeah.
cities. And so it's funny that you mentioned that you didn't, you saw the drug dealers, but you didn't want to get into that. What what was it that I guess didn't attract you to that lifestyle? Because, for me growing up in Baltimore, that lifestyle is attractive to a lot of people and they get into it.
It was very attractive, don't get me wrong. I probably dabbled in it here and there, but it's like being on the streets is like, alright, you hang around with a certain crowd, it comes with repercussions with that. Like you start to get affiliated with this group of people just by hanging with them. And after hanging with a certain crowds, we now like we're going back to middle school now. So if I'm in middle school and I'm hanging around with a certain crowd because one person got beef with this person, we all now fighting. Even if they're not really my crew, it's just because like we live in the same block or we live on the same side of this street. We now represented as north side versus west side or et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
Um, and then as you go farther and farther, it's like I seen how people are operating, and I'm just always naturally like super observant around
Yeah.
things that's happening around me.
Yeah.
So I was observing how things is going on. I was like observing the old heads now that's acting the same way. It just they're now bringing guns to the fights versus we just still playing with our hands
Mm.
or playing like having snowball fights, but it'll literally be like a real straight out war, but we just throwing snowball at each other. Like hatred snowballs though. Throwing little
Mm.
ice cubes inside and then covering it and smacking you with it.
Oh wow.
Um weird, but as I grew, I seen like the life that I did not want. And even though my surroundings was always influencing me, I had to remind myself that I don't want this. I don't want to be like these people. I don't want to be like these people. I know that I can do more.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like I'm trying to figure out the right question because I feel like I was around a lot of similar things where it's like that's not what the life I want. But the thing that kind of gave me like a little northern star was just hearing my dad's head and my dad's voice in the back of my head, like, study on study focus on school, study, get good grades, so that I could go to whatever college I wanted to go and basically escape that type of environment. So, what was your little
North Star.
guiding light?
I would say for me, it was probably my grandparents. So
Mm.
on my dad's side, um, they was the first people that introduced me to the suburbs. Like
Oh,
a city boy. First, we lived in Brooklyn, so like we had row homes, or that's all I grew up around, was just straight row homes on
yeah,
both sides,
yeah,
Philly and New York.
yeah.
So somewhere in my teens, I would say like 13, 14, they built a home in Richmond, Virginia. So this is, I think, say like 20 years ago, they built their first home, 25 years ago. Um, and when I started to spend my summers out there, I'm like, bro, this is nothing. Like, it's nothing around me. It's so boring here. It's so quiet. I don't hear guns. I don't hear ambulances. I don't hear fire trucks. I don't hear nothing besides birds chirping and cricketing or chirping. What do crickets do? Cricket? Yeah, cricket. So at back then I didn't really appreciate it because I'm like, this is so boring. I don't want to be here. It's like it's nothing to do. But like I said, I'm observant. So I'm observing the neighbors. I'm observing like the other kids. I would just look out the window watching everybody go by. I'm like, everybody just seems so peaceful here.
Hmm.
And then one of the kids that was there, it was an Indian family. So that was like my first friend that wasn't black. I'm now getting introduced to a different culture, spending time with them, having dinner at their house, seeing how they operate, what their parents do, what their mindset is. And I guess that was my northern star, like my northern light. That was, how are y'all able to do this, but I can't? Like going in their houses was, it wasn't, at the time, to me it felt like a mansion. It was a 4 bed, 2 bath house, Richmond, Virginia. Coming from row homes to this is like, it was an amusement park. You might as well say. I'm like, bro, this house is so big. Oh my goodness. So I just always just strive for that. I'm like, I want this. I'm tired of living in the ghetto. I'm tired of having cockroaches and rats running around. I'm
Yeah.
tired of the BS that's around me. So I always strive to get out the hood. That was like my motivation.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, what age were you able to finally do that?
Officially,
Yeah.
last year.
Oh wow. Oh
So
wow.
I've like, in my endeavors in real estate, still was buying houses in the hood. So like I was just buying multifamily houses where I live in one unit, rent the rest out. Kept doing that over and over again. But as of now, of me moving to Georgia, I first moved to Buckhead, which was another city, but now I live right on the outskirts of Atlanta in Gwinnett County, and it's officially the suburbs. So I officially have this house that I was always striving for, with one neighbor. My backyard is nothing besides trees, birds chirping, deers running around. I'm just like, damn, this is reality now. And it's a
Wow.
lot different. So I'm still getting adjusted to the difference of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, last year.
Yeah. Wow. So it's so funny because last year I consider that's where I went through like a super like spiritual personal transformation. So and it's funny, I was like reflecting on my journal and the things I would write out are completely different last year, prior years versus the things I write about today. So with you finally, getting out of that environment and you're in your serene space now I know you're still getting adjusted to it, but what were the different types of thoughts that would go through your head when you were living where you were prior versus where you are now?
Um, I would say now living here has been kind of like the hardest adjustment for me because as a like even though it's not a known environment of like being in the suburbs and having this type of neighborhood, I'm just so used to the hood lifestyle. Like I'm used to going to a corner store, seeing probably like four crackheads on the corner just chilling. I'm used to people yelling at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm used to sirens. Like that's my natural state that molded me to the person that I am. So coming here, this is like a reflection I had probably like month ago, sitting outside in the backyard. I'm like, why am I so? I want to say like I'm not driven, but my pace kind of like slowed down on my goals or my drive to move forward. Like I guess if you say if I'm driving this car, I slowly started to release my foot off the gas
Hmm.
once I got here,
Hmm.
and it felt like a relief off of my shoulder that I can kind of just cruise now. I don't have to be going full force every day, all day. But part of me missed that um, because it was my comfort zone. It's like if that's all I know, even though it was bad for me, that's all I know. So I had a reflection like that was the bottle cap that I true that was my cage that I would kept trying to fight to be in versus the wilderness. Like even though I'm in this cage, I can go in and out at any time. I finally got out, but part of me want to sleep in this cage still, and that's the part I'm battling with now. If that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense to me. And I think what you said is really, really profound. I think what you said is one of the things that people don't touch on so much when it comes to personal transformation, mindset shifts, environment shifts. A lot of people don't talk about the comfort zone versus this new wilderness, this new unknownness, this, and it's very uncomfortable.
Hmm. Like one thing when we moved here, my sister in law she real big on helping stray animals. So she helped a kitten that was the kitten grew up in the streets, but it was always it was an apartment complex. So like she would just hop on people porches and get fed by everyone that was in apartments. We basically took that cat, or she took that cat because I didn't want that cat in my house. Um, and brung it here, and then we put a house outside, a little kitten house outside. Within, I would say, like 3 weeks, we found the cat dead next to the stream, and I'm just like, damn, what happened? And we couldn't figure it out, but we started to see like other cats all in this neighborhood. We started to see foxes running around. We started to see this. It was like we probably messed up because we took this cat from its natural state that it grew up in as a kitten, so it's just used to calm it against apartment buildings, to the woods now, where it's never probably seen as many trains as possible, and it's still a kitten, so it did not really know how to defend itself. Um, and that adjustment, he could not survive in it. So now he probably got attacked by certain other animals that's naturally in this state. Even though it's a better environment, we took something from where it's naturally born into a different state or a different place, and it can hinder him if it doesn't have the guidance to help him along this route.
Mm-hmm. Wow. 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 That's a very powerful analogy. So, how are you, or what type of, I guess, guidelines, or do you have a mentor, or coach to help you as you're in this transition so that you're able to thrive in this new environment and so that, you kind of get settled in?
Mm, I would say for this transition with the different environments, no, but yes. So I have mentors that's like for my real estate side that helps
Mm-hmm.
me when I want to focus with that. I have real estate. I have mentors for my relationships. Um, I have mentors for my business. So, and then I have my mentor for just my mindset, so like my personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
Each one I paid for a certain thing. So I kind of like go with them for guidance, but the things that they give me in that one field slowly starts to water off into other fields in my life.
Yeah.
So it does help me having a mentor because or coach mentor, however you want to call it. Um, because they give me the knowledge to help me in this new journey of my life that I haven't experienced. Like I experienced everything in that old comfort zone, but
Mm.
now within the last 2 years, I've been breaking a lot of shells that I've been going through.
Yeah.
Got married, had a kid, moved to a city I know nobody in, then moved to the suburbs, sold a lot of my businesses, did a whole bunch of stuff, which is things that I was not comfortable doing, but I forced myself in those positions to become the person I'm looking to become. Um, so I can now do the things that I'm seeking to do.
And how has your level of fulfillment evolved over the years?
What you mean by that?
So, like, you said you're breaking a lot of shells to become the person that you want to become, right? So, with each shell that you break, do you have any correlation with your level of internal fulfillment with how your life is progressing?
Um, so yes and no. Each shell is it's helping me get a better understanding of myself.
Hmm.
Um, so now like being able to just sit in silence or sit in nature and just have moments to observe my inner thoughts and not be influenced by my surroundings and just like consciously observe my thoughts, it made me realize who I am more and that everything I seek in life is within inside of me. So I always was, I'm not going to say materialistic, but I
Hmm.
was always seeking for materialistic things to happen to produce happiness for me. If that's relationships, if that's cars, if that's houses, if it's money, like whatever it was, I always had a goal to hit these things and I hit them, but it never brought me, it never filled that bucket that I was thought was empty inside of me. And as I continue this journey, and I guess what really helped me is my last ceremony that I had. I'm a advocate of plant medicine. So I went through a ayahuasca ceremony and that kind of like made me really focus on me
Hmm.
and introduced me to certain concepts that I didn't think was true about myself, that all things are internal first. And I have to know that true happiness is what's inside of me, and the external things are just there for pleasure.
Yeah. 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 I experienced the same thing. I experienced the same thing. Like, I can totally relate to all of that. Like, with the materialistic, I was striving for the materialistic things because I wanted to feel validated, by whoever I was interacting with at the time. And when I started my spiritual transformation journey, my personal transformation journey, I really started to look inside. And
Mhm,
so one of the major limiting beliefs, or one of the major things that was affecting my mindset, was a lot of self doubt, right? So once my level of self doubt started to decrease, the values that I placed on the materialistic things started to decrease as well. I may still buy something here and there, but I don't buy it with the goal of showing it off to people so they can see what I have.
mhm,
I'll buy it just because I like the high quality and it's going to last for a long time, for example.
right. You still enjoy the luxuries of life. It's like,
Hmm.
why subdue myself to cheapness when I can have these things that was made with quality? It's not
Hmm.
saying that you need it to validate yourself, you're doing it because you truly like it. Like, so I ran a car rental business, and I guess, most guys love cars, so I was a person that loved cars. I ran a car rental business, and we got to the point where we had 35 cars that we was renting out.
Oh, wow.
Everything you could think of, from a Toyota Corolla or a Nissan Sentra all the way up to a Lamborghini.
Wow.
So damn near every day I can pick a different car to drive. And I got into the space, not the point. I've learned, like, from having these cars is like, yes, I can drive this Lamborghini every day, but it wasn't doing nothing for me still. It was opening doors on a business side, but internally it was the same as driving the BMW or driving the Jeep Compass. As long as I had this car to get me to back and forth, I was cool. But the moment that all 35 of these cars is rented out and I had no car, I'm like, damn, I gotta call a Uber. Like, how is it the car guy has no cars? So that was the feelings, like, these external things are good on the luxury side of things, and I started to see myself as like, yes, I like the finer things in life. Um, but it's still like it's not gonna bring you that true happiness that you seek until you get validated in yourself. And it's like, once I was missing this car, I was like, well, bro, I don't care what car I just need a car to get back and forth. And that's what made me realize, like, that about myself too is that thing.
Hmm. And how has your social circle changed as you've been developing your self awareness and, changing your beliefs and things like that?
So I actually just told my wife this. She's like, you should make a video about this. I'm like, somebody already did. And I think I did too. But I got, like, my day ones, which is my core friends that I grew up with. Like, they my ride or dies. I can hit them up whenever I'm really going through things. Um, they my niggas. Like, we grew up together. But then I got my day twos, which are the people that's forcing me to become uncomfortable. Like, when I talk to them, it's not the same type of conversations that we're having. It's not the things that we grew up doing. It's not the sports games or the movies we're watching or the anime shows that's going on. It's more so like when we go to the bar and drink with the day twos, is just kind of like business, growth things, real estate, relationships. It's not a more comfortable conversation having. Like with the day ones, you're just naturally just talking and you don't even know that time is flying by. Day two is the conversation usually be awkward, but it's forcing you to grow. So I have both of them. And as I grown in this journey, some of my friends got cut off because their mindset is stuck on where they are in the past or what they're doing now. And I was always seeking growth. So I don't believe in complacency. And certain people I had to cut off if there was that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm finding that a lot of people who go through, the journey of self awareness, looking within, I find that that's a pretty common thing. You know, the social circle changes, people you're close with change just because it's one, like for myself, it's hard to relate. And then two, it's like after a while, like since I'm really focused on my own internal growth, my tolerance for cycles becomes less and less and less. I can't tolerate the cycle so much anymore.
Hmm.
Even within myself, if I notice a cycle, I'm like, I need to address that, because I know that for whatever reason, I'm still here to serve some type of purpose. And I want to be the best version of myself that God has in store for me. And I wanted to touch on, I think you had a significant event that happened in your life. It was what, 2019. It was a car crash, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So like I went through a car crash too. So I wanted to hear like your story Like what happened and how that changed things for you?
So that event changed a lot in a way, but not in a way that people would think.
Mhm.
So 2019, we on my birthday, I was coming back from a bar, and I got hit by a Coca-Cola truck. So me and my girlfriend at the time, she was asleep in the passenger seat. We're in a Mazda CX-5, so it was like a five-door car, SUV. This car is now smushed into a one-door car, so it's completely just squished. Um, Usually we would have like our dog with us in the back seat. So luckily I dropped the dog off at my mom's house because we would have no dog. Um, Even like her seat was squished up enough, but because of how she was sleeping, like God really like made it perfectly where how she was sleeping, it didn't impact her too much. My seat was like the only full blown seat in the car. I was left unconscious for 2 days. I woke up with traumatic brain damage in two sections of my brain, four bulges in my neck, four bulges in my back. She had a broken wrist. She has a metal plate in her arm right now. She had a punctured lung, and yeah, it hurt us. But fast forwarding from that, the reason that we really started to touch more onto the whole holistic side approach of just life in general. So she's a food chemist. She works doing regulatory audits, making like the labels on the back of things. So
Oh
she handles
wow.
that with a lot of companies. So she gets to see the insides of a lot of businesses making food and what they can and cannot do. And they can do a lot. Legally, they can do a lot. Um, so with her knowledge with that, that took her down a certain path. And then with my knowledge of just how I am in general, when I woke up from the hospital, they gave me all this medicine to take. After I took it day one, I felt like shit. Like I felt worse than how I did before they gave it to me. Day two, they was trying to force me to take it. I'm like, I'm not taking this shit. Like, no. Um, that kept going on for a couple days. Day four, I'm just getting to the point. I was like, all right, I'm gonna take it. Like, whatever. Because now they was trying to put me into a psych ward because I was brain damaged. Like I had brain damage. They didn't know if I was actually conscious enough to know that
Oh.
I'm aware of my decisions of not wanting this medicine. I'm like, bro, I don't want it. But they was forcing me to take it. So I started to act like I was taking it, spitting it out. Everything they gave me, spit it out. Once they finally let me go after a week and a half, well, first the doctor's like, "Yo, Reese, sorry to say, but you're going to be paralyzed. Well, not paralyzed, but you're going to be limited in mobility for a very long time. Like you probably won't be able to bend your neck ever again. You won't be able to play basketball. You won't be able to run around. You're a very ambitious guy. You won't be able to do a lot of those things." I'm just like, okay, doc, I hear you. Thank you for the advice. I appreciate your wisdom. Um, but this is my life, and I hear you. I take it to account. That's it. So when I finally got out and released from the doctors, all the medicine they gave me, I basically poured it out. Besides the painkillers, because I had certain friends, passed them to them. Um, but everything else I threw away. The ability to turn my neck, I went to the chiropractors. They helped me, but it was just mentally me believing myself that there's no way in hell I'm gonna be stuck to these limitations. So I started to just look into other ways to heal my body from whatever pain it was going through. 2 years later, I would say like now I'm 95% healed from it.
Wow.
So it really it hit me in a way that made me one drive harder in my business at that time because during that season I was dabbling in real estate part time and I still had a full time job.
Hmm.
So I was doing both. 2020, I quit my job because once I got back from leave, medical leave, well, one, they didn't want to pay me when I was on medical leave. It was like so much of a hassle to get paid, and they wanted me to come back right then and there. I'm like, bro, I just got hit by an 18 wheeler. Like, y'all want me to come back and do what?
Wow.
And then they only wanted to give me like 20% of my check. So it was a whole argument going back and forth to actually get the rightful percentage I was supposed to be entitled to. Um, but that transition is like, yeah, it sat me down for a year, which made me really get focused on real estate. Then when I'm back to work, I stayed there for like 6 more months and then I quit. I was like, I can't do this shit. Like, fuck y'all, I'm out. But
Wow.
it it was a sit down that I feel like I needed to mentally see the things that's happening around me. So it set me down physically and mentally a lot. Um, one, to see like what was happening to our bodies, but two, to see what was happening in our environment. And God was just like, bro, it's not your time to die, but this accident was needed for you. And yeah, changed my life for that.
Wow. 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 I have like like so many different questions in my head. Well, one, like, with the holistic approach and the fact that your girlfriend, she's your wife now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So your girlfriend, she does the audits for the labels and the things that the food companies can and cannot get away with. Like, and I know that also translates into pharmacy as well.
Yeah.
you know, um,
Yeah. So that alone is like, I never been one real big on taking pills of any sort. Like if it didn't actually come from Earth, I was just always skeptical of it. The most I'd probably do was Tylenol and allergy medicine now because I have to take Claritin because my body doesn't like it still doesn't even rock with that. But still, um, I was just always against certain pills because the side effects that it has on like my grandparents, my mom, my uncles, like everybody in my family, they're taking all these pills, but yet they're always going in and out the hospital. And it just goes back to me being observant. I'm like, how the fuck are you taking all the stuff that's supposed to heal you, but yet you're here on a regular basis? It's not
yeah,
making sense to me.
yeah,
And I was just a rebel kid too, so I didn't do was as told. Um, it led me down certain paths, good doors, bad doors, depending on who I was being a rebel against. But me being observant again goes back to just the side effects of the things that you're doing in your life. I don't want that in my life, so I don't portray. And it just so happens that my wife decided to become a food chemist. That was not her path. She wanted to work for CDC in the health
mm,
space. Somehow she got into the food space. So now she's been doing that for a decade. Like she's 12, 13 years into that game with that. And it opened our eyes to a lot of things that's happening here in the States that we just now started to be more aware of, like the food that we intake. Like this year was the first year we actually started growing our own foods. So we grew peppers, potatoes, carrots, um, fruits. We got peaches, we got mulberries. Made a lot of mess ups. Like my yard looks crazy right now. The
yeah.
damn caterpillars destroyed everything. But
Oh,
again, it just started to make us aware of these decisions. Like we're not perfect at this, but eventually we're going to get to the point that we know what we're taking in our bodies. We
yeah,
know where it's coming from. We're
yeah,
not dependent on the poison that these motherfuckers is giving us.
yeah, yeah. And it's really funny that like a lot of commonalities I'm seeing, like people who do go on their personal transformation journey, they address the food too, right? They start going organic, they start being really mindful and trying to eliminate as many chemicals as possible. Like I've done that, and it's still something to this day that we do, where it's like I became like super in tune with my body, and I don't force things. Like I have like a feedback mechanism. I'm like, okay, let me listen to what you're telling me. So for example, with alcohol, we cut out alcohol. Every once in a while, we're like, oh, maybe let me try. My stomach's like, nope, I don't like it. Stop drinking this. Like my appetite will shut down, like everything. Like I cannot consume it. But I noticed that's here in the States. I'll have like a physical reaction to
Uh-huh.
alcohol. But then if I drink it like in another country, I don't have a physical reaction.
It's funny, right? I'm glad you're observing things. So like that, right? So we went to Thailand. I don't even remember what year it was, but when we went to Thailand, we had some of the best foods and best drinks. Like the best fried chicken I had in my life is in Thailand, and it's not at a restaurant. It wasn't at no 5-star Michelin restaurant. None of that. It was on the side of the road from a food truck. Not even a food truck, just a cart. Like
Hmm.
homeboy would just have a whole bunch of chickens running around. He'd pick one up, pluck the feathers off, chop the head off, throw it in a pot. 20 minutes later, gave us some chicken. I'm like, bro, you want me to eat this? Shit smelled bomb now. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna tear it up. What's up? Best chicken I had in my life. And he didn't really like throw no crazy amount of seasonings. He just had a little bit of salt, pepper, throw some herbs in there, everything that he had, like literally right there in his area. Greatest food I had ever. And even like when we was over there drinking, it's like we would feel drunk, we would feel like intoxicated, but the next day we wasn't like super hungover. We wasn't all just dead to the road. And then they also have this party called the Full Moon Party, where they literally selling buckets of liquor for like $5. So the whole you're familiar with Atlantic City, or y'all got a different beach, Myrtle Beach. So think of Myrtle Beach with every hotel outside, they got their own DJs just playing music,
Hmm.
all on setup. So that's this for literally like I'll say a mile.
Wow.
Biggest party ever, alcohol nonstop. The next day, I'm still Gucci though. Like I'm not hungover the way I would be like when I was in college getting drunk here. And I'm like, bro, I gotta recover for like 4 days, or I gotta continue drinking just to help with the side effects of me drinking prior. So I actually cut out alcohol 2 months ago,
Mm.
and it's been a journey, but I'm doing it more for like a discipline thing. So like we as humans, we lie to ourselves more than we lie to anyone else. So we
Yes.
tell ourselves we're gonna do one thing but never do it.
Yeah.
And the more that you repeat that cycle, the more that you stop having faith in yourself. You stop learning the ability to trust that you can do these things, and you're seeking validation from external sources or external people. So I've been like every year or so, like I hold myself to certain standards. And I'm like, my mother's alcoholic, my dad is alcoholic. So alcohol runs in my family. Alcoholism runs in my family. Um, I would say like I'm a heavy drinker. It led me down some bad paths in my life, but I know how to control it. I like alcohol. I like my drinks. So me making a decision 2 months ago was like, let's just stop drinking, Reese. Like, what is it doing for us right now? What is the true benefits? It feels good, cool, but can you be the one to turn? Damn. Can you be the one to determine what you want out of your life and what you can and cannot endure? I'm like, all right, let me make this commitment to myself. Let me stop drinking for a year. Then, in a year, come next July, if I want to indulge in it, we can. But I'm pretty sure at that point, I don't even want to do it anymore. It's like
Won't want
I got
to.
no use.
You won't want to. Like, because I've been coming across people who cut it out. Your body changes. You won't be able to tolerate it here at least.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah, but that's where I'm at now. Just making that decision, cut out alcohol. Told true to myself again to like know that I can believe in myself out of all things. So for me, it's the side effect of the alcohol, but it's more so the discipline of me. So counteractive.
Yeah. 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 And I like that you're creating areas for you to perform discipline in. I find I'm trying to do that for myself as well. The one thing I've been meditating on and trying to incorporate in my life is being excellent in everything that I do. And that means doing a lot of things you don't want to do.
Hmm.
And there is this clip that I saw from Andrew Huberman's podcast where I don't know who he was talking to, but he was talking about there's a particular part of the brain that athletes have that are bigger in size than non athletes. And that part of the brain is basically where you, I think, it's related to doing things that you don't want to do, right? And so their sides of the brain is bigger because they've trained themselves to do things that they don't want to do. And that's why they're the athlete, because they stay consistent in doing things that they don't want to do.
Hmm.
Um, because the life of entrepreneurship, or the life of, trying to change your life or continue to be great, continue to work towards that version of yourself that you see in your head, it requires doing so many things that you don't want to do. So I think, what you're doing is amazing, and I think it's probably going to have some other behavioral changes. Right, you'll probably start doing more of the things that you don't want to do because you're practicing this discipline.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you though. Um, so like I learned that well, and what I seen like consistency is the only cheat code to anything you want in life, but it's the hardest thing to like truly commit to. And we can say it's like, yo, I want to consistently start going to the gym. If you're not a natural gym person, you're not a natural person that works out. That commitment's going to be hard because you'll do it for a month, to maybe three. And a lot of people do it for New Year's resolutions, like, yo, I'm going to the gym, and fall off. So learning to be that person on a consistent basis is truly like what I'm striving for in life now. Like for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been forcing myself into uncomfortable positions. So I want to be comfortable at being uncomfortable. I
Mm-hmm.
want to know that whatever uncomfortable state I am is just a switch that got to flick. Just as like, all right, Reese, come on, we're used to this. Get your anxiety out your body, shake it all off. Cool, let's get on stage again. So I'm an introvert. I was not that external person or super exciting person to be around unless I was influenced by alcohol. Then I'm a life of the party. Two different sides. So like
Mm-hmm.
I naturally people are naturally like driven to me based on like how I communicate and the things I like to share or don't share. But me being an introvert is like when it comes to large groups of people, I'm usually the one that's just listening to everybody. I'm not the one that's talking. So my real estate mentor told me to start getting in front of people and holding networking events and seminars teaching people how to get into real estate. I'm like, bro, I don't even know what I'm doing. How the fuck am I supposed to teach somebody else how to do this shit? He's like, trust me, just do it. And then have conversation with other people you know that are killing it in the game. I'm like, all right, bet. So I started doing these meetups. I would do them once a month, inviting people in Jersey to learn how to get into real estate. No money, no credit. But I'll invite like the contractors, I'll invite the title company so they can talk and I'm just asking them questions. The more I did that, the more I was now sitting in front of 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, 50
Mm.
people, 80 people. And that room just got bigger and bigger. A year later, I got invited to speak at New Jersey's Real Estate Expo,
Oh,
which is
wow.
basically the biggest expo in New Jersey. And I'm the only one speaking on creative finance. Um, my room was filled. Literally, like people are standing up on all
Wow.
walls to hear this, and was like, "Bro, I am scared shitless."
Yeah.
Um, but I had to force myself to be uncomfortable. Like it started with 10 people speaking in front of that. Next, I'm speaking in front of 300 people,
Wow.
and I know that these stages are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger based on how I'm communicating, what I'm communicating about, and if I'm able to portray this message clearly for people to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's just me getting uncomfortable.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. That's really, really amazing. And it's like one of those perfect examples of being uncomfortable, being okay with starting small, right? because that's another thing that a lot of people are worried about. Like if they, let's say, throw a webinar for the first time and only one person shows up, that's very, very discouraging to some people. It's very, very discouraging.
Mhm.
Um, but that's part of the process, right? You start small and then it starts to grow because you're also investing more energy, more time. You're refining how to do things. You're getting better and better at it. Just naturally, when you start repeating, the same type of activity, um, and then that's when it turns into the big thing. So I'm very happy for you. Very exciting, and like, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, even to touch on what you just said too, it's like starting small is like, all right, you do this webinar. It's like you only got one person showing up. You're going to make mistakes regardless. But now you only got one person laughing at you versus 1,000 people laughing at you. Which one would you rather have? So I rather make these mistakes when my crowd is small versus when I get to this point in life where it's like, bro, you're on TV now, watch having a million people to watch you. I've endured my mistakes with the smaller groups. And I take that in life with everything now. So whatever new venture I'm jumping into, it's like I don't know how to sing. But when I go to karaoke, if I ever decide this is a hypothetical scenario, I'm not doing karaoke. But hypothetically, it's like if I start to sing, I'd rather sing in front of 5 people, 10 people, make all the mistakes I possibly can there before I decide to go American Idol and look a fool, in my opinion. So it's just putting in the reps and knowing that all of it is mental. Like everything that we do in life, it literally is a battle mentally that's telling us if we can or cannot do it.
Hmm.
And we all have the abilities to do these things, but it's what our mental is telling us about it to know if we really can or cannot, or if we're going to succeed. And now is at the point in my life where it's like, I truly believe I can succeed at anything in life that I put my mind to. And I'm operating in that manner. And it's like, I don't want to be a hypocrite when I tell my son these things, like, bro, you're 2 years old. Oh, when he gets to like 5, 6, oh, baby, you can do anything, bro. King, don't worry about nothing. You can do anything you set your mind to. But yet I'm the one that's living in the complete opposite, not doing that shit. And I don't want to be that person. So I don't want to be lying to my son on a daily basis because of that.
Hmm.
And now it's like to myself, I have to know that I can do anything that I really put my mind to, regardless of what it is. And it's so that I can teach him that same thing. It's like, yo, learn the principles that I'm doing. I'm not just telling you this because I want you to feel good about yourself. I do, but I really want you to understand like I'm doing these things too, and it is for best interest of you. So now if he's the same observant as me, by him watching just the things I'm doing on my daily basis, like, okay, daddy says he wants to be the best. He's uncomfortable. He's right now, he's just shaking, about to go on stage. He's gonna see these things. So for all
Yeah.
the people that do got kids, your kids watch you on a daily basis. You can tell them one thing, but if your actions not showing the same thing, they're gonna follow your actions more than your words.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Wow. So, what does next look like for you?
Um, it looks amazing. It looks big. So me and my wife, we actually moved to Georgia because we was in the process of buying up some land to start Ashae Retreats. Ashae
Mm.
Retreats is a retreat and wellness center. We was in the process of buying 180 acres in Biggs County. That deal fell through the week of us moving here, or a couple weeks of us moving here, where they just started to ask for way too much more money, and then some other buyer came in and purchased the property.
Mm.
But that was like one of the reasons that we wanted to come here. So we now revisited this. This is 2 years later. We're now revisiting this concept and actually introducing our share retreats again to the road, where instead of us doing it on our land, we're just renting out other people's land. So vision for us is like really building up Ashe retreats, BYOB, um, having a holistic approach to business, to health, to life in general, to know that all things are possible within us. Like God made us in his image, and that means that we are creators just like him. He didn't make the dogs as creators because dogs can't be like we can. We are human beings. So us as human beings, we're the only creature that can change who we be being. I know I said that incorrectly, but it's for a point. We're the only beings that can change who we be being. So that one day I can be sad, the next minute I could be happy. One time I can be fat, I can make this decision to be skinny or the commitment. A fish can't really change what it's doing. Its natural state is just to be a fish. It probably goes through some cycles of evolution, but it's still made for what it's made for. We are the only things on this planet that can actually change what we're made for. And it is for his purpose on what we're set to do. So, with that being said, our goal is to help more people see what they're made for or to find their purpose, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to help heal all the traumas that we endure throughout life. So we have a lot of childhood traumas that just like kind of got, I guess you could say, bottled up. Um, and we go through life just experiencing them to the point that it feels like it's natural,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't even know that it's bothering us.
Mm-hmm.
So our share retreats will be one of the largest Black-owned retreats in the world, where we have land here in the States, Mexico, DR, Jamaica, um, probably Japan somewhere, where we are introducing people to holistic living or a holistic approach on living, how to actually grow your own food, grow your own medicines, run a sustainable business, um, learn about your spirituality, your spiritual health, your mental health, and your physical health, and really just bring that to fruition.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
That's so beautiful. And I love it because, I feel like we were in the world of niche, 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 small thing, small thing, small thing. And that's the reason why I named the podcast Connecting the Dots, because there are so many different aspects of your life that you do need to focus on to transform into the best version of yourself. And so I really love your vision, and I would definitely support, so let me know when it's ready because that's something I'm into.
Gotcha. Yeah, on a quarterly basis, we're doing retreats right now. So like I said, we rent places out. We did one in December at this place called Elohi. We're doing another one in April, April, May.
Mm-hmm.
Of next year, we're doing it in DR. So each quarter, we're going to pick like a different island or country or a nice place to hold these retreats. But ideally, it's going to be set. We're going to be at a place like we can do this on our own property, our own land,
Mm-hmm.
and teach people like this different lessons. So it goes back to like us farming now. Like we're gonna learn
Yeah.
how to cultivate our own foods because that's part of you healing your body.
Yeah.
And even in business and stuff like so, I'm more from the business savviness of things. I know the components of what makes a good company and a bad company. I
Mm-hmm.
know how credit impacts that, like how to use this certain. Am I mastered all these things? No, but I understand these principles, and that's what I'm going to continue to focus on. While my wife, she's taking the approach to actually get her doctorates now
Oh, wow.
in herbal medicine and acupuncture.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, well, I don't think I mentioned it on here, but she is a certified uh, hypnotherapist and a Reiki practitioner. So understanding like the body's energy flows, and getting introduced to Western medicine, or I'm sorry, Eastern medicine.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
Western.
Yeah.
So getting introduced to like Asian cultures, medicine, and like what they use to heal their bodies, because by facts and data, they are the humans that live the longest on this planet.
Yeah.
Like they're living to 120, 130, where we're
Mm-hmm.
dying at 80, 60, 70.
Yeah. And they're pretty
Um,
sharp too, still.
yeah. So getting introduced to like how they're doing their medical routines and practices is what she's focusing on, as
Mm-hmm.
well as the spirituality and energy side of things. I'm more introducing the business side of things and the components of it. Um, and we're just kind of like merging the two together.
Yeah.
So that's our goals really.
Yeah. I love it. I love it so much because, like, that's the other thing. on a farm. Like all of the natural things we're supposed to have and be around, I'm definitely heading in that direction too. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I know you're doing it now, quarterly in the different spots, but I'm very excited for you guys to get your own land and really, really do it the way how you want to do it. So I'm
Okay,
rooting for
thank you.
you. And what would be your top three pieces of advice for, I guess, maybe your younger self?
My younger self or just anyone's younger self?
Your younger self.
Ooh.
Let's make it spicy.
Um, Stop focusing on girls. Cause my younger self, that's all. Well, money and girls. That's all I cared about. That's all I got, and that's all I did for a very long period of time. And that energy and effort could have been spent somewhere more productive. Because at the end of the day, like me and my wife, she was probably like the not to downplay anything that she did, but she wasn't like a person I was seeking to be with. It was just like our paths aligned in the weirdest way. Like, and it started to merge into that we were supposed to be meant for each other. Like she was just now holding me up, but she wasn't that person that like I was pursuing
Hmm.
for sexual relations or anything like that. She was just like, yeah, what's up? Let's go get food, blah, 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 chill. But learning that, um, one advice, don't focus on sex. Two, read books. So my younger self, the more books I would have read back then, kind of like would have got me inspired to do a lot more things sooner and quicker. And it is like now I hear this saying that my grandma used to tell me all the time: you want to hide something, put it in a book. Um, and I see why, because like all the knowledge is there. Like people have been on this road for a very long time, and they wanted to see how they can transfer their knowledge to other people. They wrote it down, put it in books. So now, like reading books like 12 Laws of the Universe. Um, and then lastly, don't take life too serious because my younger self is ratchet. So I'm trying not to say these things in a ratchet ways and trying to put it in a more friendlier um, expression of it.
Hmm.
So lastly, I would say don't take life too serious. So enjoy being a kid, enjoy it as long as you can. Have that freedom to constantly imagine new things. Because at the end of the day, everything in life that we're experiencing is an imagination of another individual.
Yeah.
This book that I'm taking notes in was imagined from someone else. This microphone that me and her and Jessica is talking to was imagined from someone else. Everything that we use in today's life is once imagination that a person had. But yet, here in the States, we're really taught to lose our imagination. I don't know if it's the road, but I'm just going to speak from our school system. We're taught to lose our imagination and it's get stuck to what society tells us to do. And that is live by their code and their rules and their system. So my last advice would be that always be imaginative, don't take life too serious, and know that you can do anything if you actually put your mind to it.
I really love that last one with the imagination. I like came to the same conclusion like a couple of weeks ago. It's like, why does society make us lose our imagination when that's like the driving force for really creating?
Everything. I got a theory on it, but I don't know if you want me to hear it or
What's your theory?
not. All right. So as I was studying more about credit, I came across this book called Creatures of Jekyll Island, and
Hmm.
it is how the Federal Reserve was set up. Um, and in this endeavor of me researching, I came across more things like how our school system was set up. And I'm like, okay, I'm learning all this stuff. And basically, a group of individuals came about. They all came together on Jekyll Island, which is an island off of the coast of Georgia. Um, they came together to formulate a plan of how they basically want to rule the world or rule society. They met secretly, that way no one really knew what they were doing and how they were doing it or why they were doing it. Um, so they came up with rules on our school systems, and it was so that they wanted to. Where at this time when our school system was introduced, it was also during a time that we were in the manufacture era of society. So when we were producing railroads, we were producing cars. Well, not cars, railroads, iron. My dog's is going crazy. Um, Manufacturing things. So they were teaching people how to become manufacturers. That's our school system. And it was their logical idea. Like, they sat down for years doing this. They would meet up again and again, have a meeting, revisit it, have another meeting. How can we control people? But not only people in a way that we see it as, is like for the productive of people itself, but more so for the productive of us. And they started the school system, they started the banking system, they started the health system. And as of today, a lot of these things have always been the same. Our school system has not really changed. We learn to go to school, hear a bell, go to another school, another class, hear a bell, go to another class, hear a bell, go to lunch, repeat that cycle. That started because of factory workers or the manufacturers. Like, you set your position, hear the bell, go to your next position. It keeps going. But even when it comes to tests, it's like we're taught to do standardized tests where where take this test and learn all by yourself. If you don't take this test, it means you're not smart. Um, and that starts to remove your ability to imagine, to feel the energy of other people, to to think of ideas. So every major business right now is not a a product of one person's ideas, but it's a product of at least two. Disney was not Disney until Walt and his brother came together. Um, Apple wasn't Apple until him and his partner came together. So a lot of things don't really come into fruition until you get that perfect match or inspiration from another resource or another individual. And their biological plan has kept them in rulership over society for a very long time in a good way. But that's kind of like my theory on it.
Yeah.
They run the banks, they run the school system, they run the health system, and it's so that they can keep their family in power for years, generations.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a similar theory. So yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Not alone. Not alone. No, but yeah, I was reading a whole bunch of books and things and studying this. I'm like, damn, that's crazy. These dudes
Yeah.
are diabolical fucking geniuses.
Yeah. The one question I do have is what would like what their true intention was. Like, was it was their intention for us to be miserable? Or maybe they really thought they were just doing what was best for business and didn't think about any other, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, real different.
So we're leaving at that. Maybe we'll have a part two.
So they'll be here for another hour. We can talk about it,
Yeah,
but
right.
part two.
Oh man, thank you so much, Maurice. Thank you so much. And where can people find you?
So BYOB the series. You can go to that website or on all social media platforms. My name is Reese, Reece, BYOB. That is on Instagram, social, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, everything. Reese BYOB.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.